Good morning, students. Today we are going to take up part D of chapter 5. That is the last part for organizing chapter. Here we are going to explain three intermingled concepts: centralization, decentralization, and delegation. What you see in the slide, at a comprehensive view, we have taken the three, where centralization is a systematic and consistent reservation of authority at central points in the organization. That is, it is concentration of authority. Decentralization is a systematic delegation of authority at all the levels of management. And delegation is temporary giving of power and responsibility to get the work done. We are dragging the concept from Fayol's 14 principles of centralization and decentralization. That was one of the principles we have taken up. The same thing we are going to take up here in elaborate form. Now, centralization as per Lewis Allen is systematic and consistent reservation of authority at central points within the organization. That is concentration. Control and decision making is residing with the top level management. Then comes to decentralization. What you could see in the image also, that in decentralization, it is dispersal of authority at all the levels, or we can say systematic delegation at all the levels. And in a layman's language, we can say that everything that is going in increasing the role of subordinate is decentralization, and which is increasing the role of superior is centralization. Decentralization has a wider scope within its pattern itself because it goes on penetrating within the system. Now we'll take the two extremes of centralization and decentralization, what you could see in the diagram also and in the difference also. In centralization, it is concentrated in a central nodal point. What we say, centralized banking system, centralized control system, accounting system. And in decentralization, it is scattered or disseminated. So centralization is retention of power and authority with the top management, whereas decentralization is dissemination of authority, responsibility and accountability at various management levels. Next, if we go in a further elaborate way, on the basis of communication flows, you will find in centralization there is a vertical movement, in decentralization it is an open tree system. Decision making in centralized is slow because it has to go through one hand, and in decentralization it is comparatively faster. If we say the direct advantage of centralized system is proper coordination and leadership, since it is in one hand. And in case of decentralized, you are sharing your burdens and responsibilities. Then next basis is power of decision making. In case of centralized, it lies with the top management, and in case of decentralized, at multiple levels you have multiple persons who are assisting you in decision making. Then the reason why we go for, in case of centralized, you don't want to lose your control, and in case of decentralization, you want to have a considerable control being scattered out. And suitability part, centralized is best suited for small sized organization, and decentralized it is for large sized organization. Next, I'll be taking the same diagram that I had used for 14 principles with reference to centralization versus decentralization with a bit of elaborate explanation. that 100%, what you could see at the bottom, centralization or decentralization, is a hypothetical case. It does not exist in reality. Depending upon the situation, need of the hour, you go for different combinations within the same organization. And a usual concept that we take up is 90-10. That at the top, since most of the decision makings are to be done, so centralization at top is 90%, 10% only for mechanical working out of those plans. We need to decentralize. At bottom level, 90% decentralization because the work is to be executed, and 10% hardly is to be centralized for decision making. Now you could see these two extremes and the diagonal in between as delegation. What is this diagonal? It is a process of moving from centralization to decentralization. So we can say delegation is a process of moving from centralization to decentralization. Now we say why at all an organization goes for decentralizing. Unless and until you have some benefit out of it, why would you go for decentralizing? Once an organization is decentralizing, and we are taken up in the difference, that suitability part when the organization goes huge in size. You are relieving your top executives for qualitative work. You are reducing their burden. And you are facilitating diversification for the organization. The managers at the top level are more free to think about new products, changes in the various product dimensions, and they can emphasis on the market. Then we are developing executives at every level because here authority, responsibility and accountability also we are giving out, accountability part. So you become more responsible. Taking charge of something independently is the best motivation for an employee who is willing to work. So it is the best incentive for a person who is willing to work. It promotes motivation. We have taken up. Now next is control and supervision at every level is closely being monitored. At every level is closely being monitored. And your decision making is fast. At every table decision is being taken, the work is being executed. So you are faster in your work, or your system works faster, I should say. Now we take up delegation. Since we said it is a process, so we can say it is assigning responsibility and authority to someone in order to complete the job and successfully achieve the objective. Now, in delegation, we are incorporating, empowering our teammates. We are developing their leadership. But there are two precautions to be seen. There are two precautions to be seen, which is being mentioned in the red box next to your definition. First, accountability can never be delegated, number one. And second, delegation is compulsory but temporary. I'll explain both the points. Number one, when we say accountability, it means answerability. Now what happens? We say a person, in order to relieve himself, downloads routine activity usually to the subordinates. If you take a simple example, your class teacher might be busy with many activities. She might be in charge to some wing, junior wing or so, she might be having certain other responsibilities of the organization. So what she does is, at random, few days when she is over busy, she would be giving you the attendance register to mark the attendance. And you would definitely at random cross check. You'll cross check, you'll not leave on the monitor. Second is, maybe at times our master register also we give to the monitors. They want to discuss the marks, cross verify the marks. Now, if suppose there is an error committed by the monitor, intentionally or unintentionally, I'm using both the words. It could be an intentional approach of manipulating attendance or an unintentional. You cannot hold the monitor accountable for it. You means the authority, not the class teacher. There, the class teacher has to take a stand that even if the the student has committed error, I am responsible. Because delegation means you are giving your power, you are taking back. I am giving you register, I am taking back. So if there is an error, I am responsible for it. Child is not responsible. Child had only assisted me that right in the morning, the child had taken attendance, so many students present. Maybe somebody fell sick, went home, and I had not taken up in the record. I am accountable for it, not the child. Second is, delegation is compulsory but temporary. Let us take another example. Bike, your father's bike. He gives you key to get a work done faster. The bike is in the name of your father. If at all you commit some mistake, your father will be behind the bars, not you. Right? And immediately after you finish your work, father says, give me key, give me key. Or if it is mother-in-law and she is giving key to daughter-in-law, she will ask for key. So the moment I am asking back for key, that means I am retrieving my power after the work is done. It is compulsory because I need help of people under me to work efficiently and effectively. But if I feel somebody is not up to mark, I can change. It's a test ride, I will say. Delegation is a test ride where you choose a person within you whom you feel is responsible enough, capable enough to do the job, you give him, and the moment the work is over, you take back that authority. Now, while we are delegating, there are three elements: responsibility, authority, and accountability, which was evident when I was explaining the case in the previous slide. When I say responsibility means what? You have taken the duty assigned by the virtue of the position or the trust of your superior. Authority is the power that is being given to you to perform the job. And creation of accountability. Creation of accountability. Please mind this word. Even though we are saying it is one of the elements, it is an obligation to carry, and here the responsibility has two parts: absolute and relative. Absolute and relative. The absolute responsibility merges into accountability, whereas the direct answerability is accountability. Now, you could see out of the four in this slide, one is being chosen to do the work. Why not the three? Personal decision of the superior. He feels the second person is more loyal or capable of doing. Now, when you are choosing one, giving him work, you are delegating. So why should you do that? Let us see the importance of delegation now. Number one, it saves superiors time. Something very stereotyped, uh, monotonous in nature for me, because I had to do it every day. I'll hand it over to you. I'm saving my time for qualitative work. I can use that time in effectively designing the better ways of teaching. So a superior is saving his time for qualitative work. And this is why we say delegation is done for routine type of activities. Then the superior focuses on high value items or work. At the same time, for the subordinate, his abilities and skills are developed. You are creating a second line of leadership. You are developing managers. You are developing managers through this. Next is barriers to delegation. If we have benefits of it, knowingly, unknowingly, there might be barriers also. And we classify the barriers could be in three. The third one is the system. The third one is the system, that is the problem with the organization, which is not a big issue. It can be easily sorted out. The problem is when it is with the human beings, because we said management is dealing with human beings. So dealing with human behavioral problem is more difficult. So actually speaking, tackling the first two is difficult. That is why a manager don't want to delegate. Why is a manager not willing to delegate, or a superior? And why subordinates, they are not willing to accept delegation. These two are more crucial areas. Now, let us come one by one, because we say right hand being stronger, whenever you have to give an impact, right hand is more responsible. So delegation to be effective, manager being more powerful, he should be given more emphasis, because if he is capable enough, he can get the best out of the subordinate. And usually if it is 5-mark question, I would suggest don't take up problems with the organization. Only 3+2 ratio may you have to go. 3 for the managers, because managers, they are the upper hand, right hand, and 2 problems, any 2 problems from the subordinate side. Unless and until it is mentioned specifically in the question regarding the problems with the organization, I would prefer do not take up. But if it is 6 marks, you can classify. Give 1 marks for this also. 3 plus 2 plus 1. That way you will move. But now with the change in the pattern of exam, we expect more towards identifying the type of problem, quoting the line and specifying it. Now, from manager's point of view, at times it is your ego of the manager that nobody else can do better than what I am doing. This belief is nothing but ego, or where you are being very personally attached to the previous responsibilities. Then lack of confidence and trust in the subordinate. These are two different points. The first one, that is I can do better, was ego problem, and lack of confidence in your subordinates is behavioral pattern problem. Now, next is again a insecurity in the manager, that If my subordinate is performing better than me and is getting a better salary, why should the organization keep me? They'll kick me out. So this insecurity, a threat that if my subordinate outshines me, then you don't want to take risk. Many people have that the degree of risk that I'll be taking by delegating, rather I only do it. So you don't want to take risk. Then when you don't want to explain, or you don't have the power to explain, or you feel the time involved in explaining is a wastage. Fear of losing power, this is again insecurity part. Or you do not have a competitive subordinate, although it's a hypothetical situation, but still maybe there could be a situation where you don't find anybody who is competent enough to take up that responsibility. And when you have a negative approach of subordinates who are continuously on resisting pattern, you say it's better I will do. Right? Now coming to the subordinate side. When you are under a perpetual dependence on superior, you don't want to take risk. You don't have the confidence within you. You want to be a part of crowd. When everybody is getting scolding, I'll also get scolding. I don't want to be separately in the line coming out for either a praise or a criticism. That is, there is lack of positive incentive. Now, last but not the least, problem with the organization can be there. Managers are willing to delegate, subordinates are willing to accept, but the organizational planning is defective. Your control mechanism is ineffective, and your organization structure is not well planned. Obvious, if your planning is defective, organization structure followed as the second step has to go with the error. So this was with the barriers in three major categories, with the managers and with the subordinates on the human part, and the problem inherent with the system. Now, next we'll come to difference between delegation and decentralization. First, on the basis of the purpose, delegation, we have already said, it is to reduce the burden of the manager and relieve him for qualitative work. And decentralization, since we say it is permanent, decentralization, remember, is permanent. It increases the role of subordinate, it gives more autonomy, scope. Delegation is narrow because we are taking only one phase of it, that is superior subordinate, immediate. Whereas decentralization is wider in scope because this delegation is penetrating at every layer till the lowest level of management. Then the status part, what I have put up as red in the bottom also. Delegation is a process. It's not the end result. Delegation is a process followed to share the task. And decentralization is the end result of policy decision making of top management. So delegation, process, decentralization, end result. Then nature. What I said in the beginning also, delegation compulsory hai, is compulsory but temporary. and decentralization is optional. Till you are not decentralization, there is nobody to tell you. But once you have given the keys forever with the papers of the bike to your child, then it's final. So decentralization is an optional policy. If you don't want to expand, nobody is compelling you. But once you have done, you cannot retrieve back. It is permanent. So decentralization is optional. It's up to you to decide whether you want to go for that permanent basis or not. But once given, it cannot be retrieved. Next we say a common statement in terms of explanation was, in delegation we multiply by 2, but in decentralization we multiply by many. Because in delegation, superior subordinate, your strength is multiplied by 2. And in decentralization, since it is at every layer being done, what you could see in the diagram also, at every layer I am coming down, so I am multiplying by many. Usually, it was a patent question of 6 marks earlier, and they used to give elucidate, explain. Elucidate means to explain. There, the child had to break up in 3: delegation, decentralization, and correlating the 2. Since last 2 to 3 years, they are not asking this type of elucidate question. Now, next is why and what to delegate. Right? So, why? The answer is simple. Since there is always too much for a manager to do in a successful business, it becomes necessary to delegate the task to the other members. Right? Now comes question, what type of things do you delegate? What type of things you delegate? Something which is routine, stereotyped, and doesn't require much of your existence. You take up those activities for delegating. Routine type activities. Taking attendance is a daily activity, right? Checking bags of students whether they are having something unauthorized is a part of routine activity. Next. Now here we are with all sort of combination of questions which comes from this topic, both from the examination point of view as well as from an individual child's view. Centralization versus decentralization. To what extent I want to centralize, to what extent I want to decentralize. Then whom to delegate, what to delegate, when to delegate, how to delegate. Then should we only go for delegation, 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 or decentralize and full stop? All these questions are to be answered in a relative manner. There is no absolute answer to it. All these questions are situation specific. So we can conclude that depending upon the situation of an organization, of the environment, decision making should occur at the levels of the places where the people are most directly affected and who have the most intimate knowledge about the problem, because their decisions would be realistic. And the recent trend is more towards decentralized structure. We often say, then when you know that by decentralizing you are giving your power forever, why should you go for decentralizing? It's a hierarchy. If I am giving somebody power on permanent basis, I am also moving ahead because the overall organization is growing. So it is overall development. With this, I conclude this topic of centralization, decentralization, and delegation. Please, during this lockdown, I would say, if you love life, don't waste time. For time is what life is made up of. Use it successfully in learning and different modes of learning. Online teaching is also one of the mode of learning. Please, in case if you have any doubt, do ask in comment box, and if you feel you are benefited by this slide, both for my students of 1920 batch who would be appearing after the lockdown for exam and 2021 who are there as freshers for 12th, I wish you both all the best.